everyone, this is Ben from Soundstage, and today I will be talking about the new Cayin N6iii DAP, a new digital audio player from Cayin. It's basically a replacement for the N6iii, obviously, which came out I think about 5 years ago. So Cayin released the N6, I think 5 years before that. So it has kind of a 5-year shelf life for each of these iterations. So what's the interesting thing about the Cayin? It has swappable motherboards. So in essence, you are able to switch motherboards to change the sound of your player. The first motherboard that came with the set is from Cirrus Logic. It's the they call it the C203, which is basically the CS43198 chip, the DAC chip. There are 8 of those in there. And another release that's come out, which I haven't had a chance to get hold of yet, is the ESS Saber chip. I think that's called the E203 or something like that. We'll hopefully get hold of that soon enough to let you know how it sounds. But for now, I'll just be talking about this particular chip, the DAC in here. So to start off, what are the key points? What are the key specifications of this? Let's go with the battery life. Battery life is rated, it's got a 9,000 milliamp hour battery. That's rated for about 12.5 hours. So in my testing, it's around there. It's close enough. I didn't really measure it from exact amount, but it does get pretty close to that from my experience. Power output is rated at for the balance. It's at 700 milliwatt, so that's decent. It has 3 sockets here. So one is for the balance output, one is single-ended, and the third one here, which I've plugged up, is for line out. It's on the 3.5 M line out. If you want to do 4.4 line out, you can, but you need to switch the functionality in the app. On the settings, actually, not in the app. Let's take a look at the functionality of the N6iii. Okay, I've set mine up, obviously. I've got Tidal, Spotify in there. Cayin also has his own music player. Okay. So you have gain settings here, which are low, medium, high. Balance output, which is either line out or phone out. And if you open the audio settings, you are given 4 options of filters, and these are actually quite effective. You can tell the difference in the sound when you change them. So my preference is either the fast roll-off low latency or the slow roll-off low latency. Slow roll-off low latency to my ears brings vocals forward a little bit and also seems to have a slightly better resolution than the fast roll-off. Fast roll-off vocals are slightly more recessed, but it gives the impression of a wider soundstage because of that. So yeah, I alternate between the two of them. Okay, apart from that, channel balance should be at 0. There was just a mispress by me there. And that's essentially it in terms of the audio settings. Yeah, pretty basic, pretty straightforward. So you have the other Android options on it. PEQ. The PEQ is global, and it's actually quite effective. I know certain DABs do not have global PEQ, but this does work. So it works on whether you're using Tidal or Spotify. It will work on that. Also, setting it up is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I think if anyone's familiar with any of the high-B DABs, they might have seen this before. So it's basically the same thing. So you've got 10 bands, so 0, 1, 2, 3. Change the frequency, change the Q, your gain settings, and the type, low shelf, peaking, and high shelf, and enable it. That's it. So yeah, turn it on and off. Sound signature. The N6iii with the Cirrus Logic C201 deck has a very, very nice sound signature, actually. So it's not neutral. It's definitely not neutral. There's some emphasis in the bass region, so you get a bit more punch and a bit more slam in the bass. It's there just to color the music a bit, to make things more dynamic. Likewise, in the treble region, there is a bit more emphasis on the treble too, which makes things a little brighter. It doesn't get sibilant. It doesn't get sibilant at all. It's still smooth. Is it sparkly? Yes, it's sparkly, but does it get airy? It is. It has a certain amount of airiness to the treble, but it's not the same level as I think some of the iBasso DAPs. For example, the DX180, that would be an airier DAP than this one. But this still does a good job. There are no complaints about it. It's still good enough. There's a slight elevation in the upper mids, just a very, very slight elevation, which brings forward the vocals, and it makes it actually a very, very nice and engaging listen. Vocals are, they're not in your face, but there's some emphasis on it, and you do hear a lot of texture and the emotion coming out from there. Soundstage. The N6iii soundstages very well. It's deep and it's tall. People throw around the word holographic quite a lot, but this is pretty holographic in my ears, right? I do find that the sound does go around you, and you get you get a certain sense of space among the instruments. Separation, layering is very, very good on this. The soundstage is wide, but probably not as wide as some other DAPs. Maybe some of the more expensive DAPs would have a wider soundstage than this, but I think this does a really good job. There are no complaints about it at all. So the N6iii with the C201 motherboard, I find it to be very musical. That's probably, if I were to summarize this in one word, it would just be musical. And it is a very musical presentation. Resolution is very good. You get a lot of good detail retrieval, but it's not overly analytical. So it's fun sounding, it's dynamic. Details are there. You get everything that you would not miss any details is there. So it's not dry at all. It doesn't try to beat you over the head with enough detail, but it's good for a fun listen, and it will definitely eat up a lot of your listening hours. Here's a short comparison against the iBasso DX260. The iBasso sound signature tends to be more neutral for all of them, with different levels of musicality and technicality. So I would say this is comparable to the N6iii. I would say it's comparable to the DX180 in terms of musicality. In terms of the treble, it comes pretty close in terms of the treble presentation, but it is not as airy as that, but still really good. In terms of comparison against the DX260, which also shares the same setup as this motherboard, which is basically the Cirrus Logic CS43198 chips. It also has 8 of them. It's tuned very differently. The DX260's tuning is more technical. It's a bit drier. Detail resolution is also there, equal, I think. But I would say that the soundstage isn't as deep as this. I can't recall what the width is, so I can't really tell you whether it's wider or not, but I can tell you that the N6iii has a deeper soundstage than, deeper and taller soundstage than the DX260. Would I recommend this? Would I recommend the N6iii? Yes, definitely. I find it very engaging, and I find that it just eats up all my listening time. I find that I'm going for one song after another, trying out different songs just to see what I can get out of this. I pair it with all my IEMs. I've paired it with the AFU P Performer 5+2. I've paired it with the Sennheiser IE600, and I've used the unique melody mesh, which is incredible because with this set, it really makes the unique melody mesh shine in terms of adding a bit more bass to the presentation, which that set actually lacks quite a bit, giving it a lot more space among the instruments as well as a wider and deeper soundstage. Excellent for the unique melody. It's also done really well with the Polar Anvil 114. Not so much with the Fat Freak Deuce, because the Deuce requires more power, and I think this the N6iii doesn't have the amount of power that it needs to give it justice, because the bass is a bit boomy and a bit bloated, so not what I would like to hear from the Deuce. In addition to the released ESS motherboard, there's an announcement that there's probably another motherboard to be released after Chinese New Year, and then probably one later in the year, maybe middle of the year or something. So it's quite exciting because when you change the motherboard, you totally change the sound signature on it. And I've heard good things about the ESS motherboard, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. And if we refer to history, the Cayin, the N6 series, the motherboards that they replace it, or the options that they offer, probably include an AKM, one AKM motherboard, and hopefully maybe an R2R1. So let's see where it goes from there. Exciting times ahead. Well, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. See you in the next one.